Hey everybody, hope you're all doing good today. Just time for another little YouTube story. It seems like I've been getting a lot of requests since I've been sharing these stories about the past tournaments I've been in, and it seems like there's a lot of people sort of interested in the history of the sport, which is really cool because man, there's just so much. There's so many stories to be told out there in the sport of professional fishing that unless we share them, they sort of get lost in the past forever. So I sort of want to take a little bit of time on this channel to, moving forward, to sort of share with you some experiences that I've had in my tournament fishing, and maybe some of my friends too, because it's pretty entertaining, some of it, and I guess educational. You can probably learn some stuff out of it too. But today's topic, I want to tell you about the story about the longest boat ride I ever had, or the farthest I've ever ran in a tournament to catch my fish. And this story I'm going to tell you here was like, it's one of the most memorable fishing tournaments I've ever had in my life. It'll stay with me forever, there's no doubt, because it was just, everything about it was so epic. But we were fishing a FLW tournament on the Mississippi River. Man, this has probably been, God, close to 20 years ago. And the tournament was out of Memphis, Tennessee, right on the Mississippi River there. I mean, just right when you go across, see the big pyramid up there, right on the Mississippi River. And fishing, we'd fish the lower end of the Mississippi a lot, down by Greenville, and there's some places down there. One year we had the FLW Cup down there. So there's some good water on the river up and down, but it's real sparse as far as where it's located at. In this particular section we launched there in Memphis, there was just a ton of dead water down there. And in practice, everybody was scattered out because you could run a long way. There was places to go north, places to go south, just a lot of water to fish, a lot of backwaters, but fishing was really tough overall. And in practice down there, I had really struggled. I'd found a couple places where I was getting a few bites, but not many. And so the last day of practice we had there, I said, man, I have got to do something different, or I'm just not going to do good in this tournament at all. And I remember 2 or 3 years before that, we had the FLW Championship out of Greenville, Mississippi, which is like, over 200 miles south of Memphis on the river there. But I fished this place there, this one lake just north of Greenfield, and I remember, catching quite a few fish in it. And I just said, man, I got nothing to lose. I said, I'm just gonna drive down there in my car in the morning, launch in this backwater, and just see what's going on. Because I just can't catch them anywhere. And at least I knew I'd caught fish down there before. And I didn't even know, even if I got on and if I could make it down there, it was so far. So I drive down there, launch my boat in the little lake that off the Mississippi River there, where I was gonna fish at, and immediately put the boat in. And to make a long story short, the first hour I was in there, I shook off 20 flipping. Shallow willow trees, 30-pound test line, big jig, and these were good ones. I could tell. You could just tell, when they're moving out. I think I swung on one, the first one, and it was like a 4-pounder, and then I bent my hook over and, had like 20 bites in an hour. So, man, I got thinking, I said, okay, let's figure this up. If I got 20 bites in an hour, and I only need 5, so is it possible to make it down here? So what I did is, this was back before, GPS technology and that. I don't even think I had a GPS at the time, even one of the little handheld ones. I think that was even before that. All I had was two flashers on the boat and a compass. So I took out a road atlas, like the ones you buy at Walmart, and I took a string and I strung it the entire length of the river and went on the legend and figured it up. And I calculated it to the mouth of this little lake that I needed to get into. It was 182 miles one way to get to the mouth of this. And back then you could take gas with you. You could carry as much gas, you could carry spare tanks, whatever you wanted to on the boat. There was no rule for that. Plus, on top of that, there was like a little bitty tiny mom and pop gas pump in that little lake. There was like a little store at the top of the hill and just a little bitty beat up little gas pump down there. So I went over there and I asked them, I said, can you get gas here? And they said, yeah. So anyway, I calculated it up and I said, okay, it's 185 miles one way to this. So I went to the store that night before the tournament and I bought, I think it was I bought six 6-gallon gas tanks, and I had 50 in the boat. So I took these gas cans, strapped them to the back of the boat. So you had a couple on the floor, had gas all over the place in the boat. And I said, I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna go for it. I had one rod out, flipping stick, 30-pound test line. I knew that I'd never made the run down there. I mean, I'd never ran it before. So I sort of calculated it at 3 to 4 miles a gallon wide open that I'd have enough to make it down there, and then I could fill up at that gas dock and make it back. So anyway, the first morning I run down there, it takes me, I think, I made it down there in a little over 3 hours one way. And the reason it takes so long is the Mississippi River is one of the most dangerous places I have ever ran before. There's floating logs everywhere. There's whirlpools in the middle of the river that you don't even know they're there, where you'll be running down the lake and all of a sudden you'll look up in front of you and see like a big swirling area and you'll drop down 2 or 3 feet into it. And wing dams, and that place can get rough. When you have a 5-mile-an-hour current coming against a strong south wind, you can get, 2 to 4, maybe even 5 footers in certain parts of that river if the current is hitting the wind at the right direction. So it took me over 3 hours to get down there. So I get into this area, I roll up on the stretch where I'm fishing, and within the first 15 minutes, I catch almost 20 pounds. Just boom, just 5-pounder, 5-pounder, 4-pounder. And went over, as soon as I got my 5th one in the boat, I had 20 pounds in the well. I go over to the gas dock over there, get everything tied down, run back. It's another 3.5 plus hour trip back. And so I make it back. I fish for 15 minutes and I make it back, and I think I had like maybe 30 minutes left when I got back in. So after the first day, I'm leading the tournament. And super stressful. I mean, it's just because it's this run, it's so hard on your equipment, you just don't even really know what's going on. So the second day of the tournament, the wind starts to come up a little bit. And so I'm running down there and it's rough smooth on some of the places. And then you turn a corner and it'd get rough for 3 or 4 miles. And again, 185-mile run one way. I get back in there and I go, this time what I wanted to do is I wanted to go straight to the gas pump before I even fish, because I didn't want to have to mess with that and I wanted to calculate my time better. So I went right over to the gas pump and I get over there and my jack plate with my motor's about ready to fall off the boat. So it's like, God, is there anything else that can go, stress you out more after just running 185 miles in a boat? So fortunately, the guy at the pump there had some tools. We got everything squared away, tightened up the jack plate, got in over there and went back over and started fishing. And again, I fished no more than 15, 20 minutes, caught 18 pounds. Boom, 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 boom. So the wind was coming up, and as soon as within 15, 20 minutes, I had my limit and I said, we got to get out of here. So I started running back, and it was hairy running back. I mean, it was like super rough on certain areas, and I knew I didn't have any time to spare. I mean, I didn't have time to fart around. I had to push it hard the whole time. So I'm pushing it super hard all the way up there, and I get back to probably 2 or 3 miles from the takeoff there, and I mean we have been pounded. My partner Rodney Schmolak, that's the tournament I drew. My Army Ranger buddy Rodney Schmolak, first time we met, he had blisters on his butt from holding onto the seat. It was just super intense. And we get about 2 or 3 miles from the takeoff, and my motor dies. and I don't have much time. I mean, I got to be back like in, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And so I'm in the middle of the river, and my motor died. It would idle, but it wouldn't do anything else. And all of a sudden, here comes Rick Clunn behind me. Rick stops. We tie my boat off to a buoy in the middle of the river. I put my fish in Rick's boat. All four of us get in Rick's boat. We run to weigh in, and we made it back to weigh in with 1 minute left. So I am like frazzled at this point. And so I weigh my fish in, and I'm still leading the tournament. So leading the tournament the first day, leading the tournament the second day. And I just told myself, you know, if I make it down there and back every day, I'm going to win this tournament. There's no doubt in my mind I'm going to win it. So the third day of the tournament, they cut the field to the top 10. Got everything squared away, got all my gas lined out, got my one flipping stick ready to go. I'm pumped. You know, I just said, man, I'm in my element. I'm flipping a big jig, big line, long run, just epic all the way around, leading the tournament the whole time. So we run down there, run 180 miles, and I get about probably, I'm going to guess 3 miles, not that far, maybe a mile away from the mouth of the river, and I blow my motor. The motor in the FLW boat that they gave us for the top 10 blows the motor. So I'm done. I'm completely done in the tournament. You know, I've only got like, at the most, you know, 35 or 40 minutes to fish anyway once I get down there, maybe 45 at the most. And so I can't even make it into the lake. So anyway, like I said, blew my motor in that tournament, you know, wound up finishing in the top 10. But what a disappointment, because I mean, that's just one tournament where, you know, it's like, you know, you're going to win the tournament. It's just a matter of something uncontrolled happens. And I had an uncontrolled variable happen in that tournament, you know, blowing the motor, you know, cost me winning that tournament. But that was without a doubt the most intense event probably I've ever fished in my life, because it was so stressful, yes, yet it was so awesome at the same time. Because I mean, I don't know if you can really grasp what it's like to run 300 and, well, close to you might as well say 400 miles, close to 400 miles a day in a bass boat in dangerous water, you know, the whole time. It's like you're on pins and needles the whole time. Your anxiety levels are high, but at the same time, you feel so alive. You're pumped, you're jacked, you know, especially when you're leading the tournament and you know you just got to get down there and catch them. But man, that was, I've had a lot of disappointments in this sport. And, you know, I talked about one a few days ago about losing the $900,000. And this is another one of those that comes up that, you know, the people just don't hear about it. You know, you just don't realize it. So, and that's part of this sport. I mean, this sport it's an emotional roller coaster. I mean, it's just like, it can be the greatest thing in the world at 1 minute, and then it can just be the most terrible thing at the next minute. But anyway, I'll never forget that. That's one of the greatest things I had in there is I met my buddy Rodney Schmolak. You know, after that, Rodney and I fished together. He practiced with me as a co-angler on the FLW tour for 5 years. Every day we practiced together, traveled all over the country together, 30 years in the Army Rangers, 2 tours in Vietnam, you know, had just great friendship with the guy. And Rodney passed away a couple of years ago from some of his exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam. And but you know, that's where I met him, and the time that I had to spend with him was really memorable, and I'll never forget it. So anyway, that's it. Just wanted to share that little story with you, and hope you guys are having a good day, and we'll check in later with another one. See ya.